Hello, I hope you're having a wonderful, fantastic, and lovely day. For those of you who are new, my name is Lawrence Harris. I'm a youth empowerment speaker. I specialize in helping teens and young adults build self love, confidence, and a positive outlook on life. In addition to that, if you have me a school principal, a podcast host, or you run a youth focused organization, you can contact me at my email address in the description. Now, I've spent the last 4 years helping teens and young adults build a positive outlook on life. And one thing that often comes up is limiting beliefs. I want to achieve this thing, but I can't. I want to talk to this girl in my class, but she's not going to like me. I want to get into the NBA, but I'm not good enough. These are limiting beliefs. There are these beliefs we have about ourselves that places a ceiling on us. And a great example of this is right here. So, a little bit of context. A flea can jump 6 feet in the air, way higher than its body. Like it's jumping very, very high. So, the point being that our limiting beliefs are like this jar around us. Even though the flea can easily jump out the jar, mentally it's stuck. Mentally it's still in the jar. Even though it can jump 6 feet in the air physically, even though there is no lid there now, because it was trapped, because it was conditioned to believe that this is as far as I can go. I can never leave the jar. I can never achieve that goal. I can never get that girl. I can never get that guy. I can never do that. So I'm going to only jump where I'm comfortable. I'm going to only jump where I've been taught. Even though I want the money, as you can see on the right hand side of the screen, even though I want to be that cool guy in the suit, even though I want the girl or I want the guy, I can never do that. I'm going to only jump where I'm comfortable. I'm going to only make the kind of money my family did. I'm going to only wear the kinds of clothes that the people around me do. I'm going to only live how I've been taught, even though I want more, but my beliefs are holding me back and they're stopping me here. Now, where did these come from? Like, we don't just wake up one day thinking, I can never do it. I'm not good enough. We don't just wake up one day thinking that. So, where did this come from? Childhood experiences, how people treated you. So, think about the relationship you had with your friends and your family and the people in your community. The safety of where you grew up. Because if you grew up in a really dangerous area, even if when you're older you move out and you go to a safe place, you still think from the perspective of danger, 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 because that's what you were raised around. You were raised in an environment that taught you to believe that everyone's dangerous, that everyone's a criminal, that everyone's going to hurt you, and you will now begin unconsciously moving through life with that perspective. The lack of opportunities, or if you had a lot of them. So I can never do that. I can never get to the NBA. I can never make a lot of money. I could never achieve that goal or have that healthy relationship because growing up I never saw that. Growing up I never had access to that. Growing up nobody showed me that. Growing up that was never available to me. So because when I was younger, I never had it. I moved through life believing I never can have it. Trauma, family structure, obviously, if you went through something really traumatic, that can lead to issues with trust, that can lead to issues with personal safety, it can lead to fears. A lot of things can come from that. How people talked about money. Growing up, if you were always told you never have enough money, we're always going to be poor, we don't have money for that. Obviously, if you were asking for stuff like Gucci belts and stuff, that's different. But I'm referring to food, water, shelter, McDonald's, things that are reasonable prices. If growing up you're always taught that we will never have enough money, when you're older, you will start to see the world through the perspective of never having enough money. Then you have other things like racism would be a really big one. If growing up you were always told that because of how you look, you cannot achieve a certain thing, because of how you look, you can only be a basketball player, a criminal, or something of that sort, which is unfortunately really common for young black men to hear. If growing up that's what you were taught, then as you get older, you will move through the life of because of how I look, I can't. Because of how I don't look, I can't do that. Because I'm not a certain shade, or I'm not a certain color, or I'm not a certain race, or I don't have a certain hair texture, I can never do that. What others told you can be, that ties right into it. You can never be a doctor. You can never be an engineer. Or on the opposite side, there's positive things like, I believe in you. You can achieve that. Go for your dreams. Whatever your family and friends and culture and the society you grew up in was teaching you as a child, positive or negative role models. Did you have anybody who you could look up to? Because if you didn't, it's hard for you to have a good example of what to become. It's hard for you to know what to strive for if you never had anybody show you the path. Laws, obviously, certain countries and places, you cannot have free speech. You cannot dress certain ways. You cannot act certain ways. Those are legal laws that influence what you believe you can and cannot do. Now, let's say you grew up in a country where free speech was not allowed. Like you had to be very, very filtered in what you say and what you do. But then you come somewhere like America where you could say whatever most of the time. There is a limit, but most of the time you can say whatever you want. You can do whatever you want within certain laws. The beliefs you had when you were growing up in the country that didn't allow you to speak your mind is now limiting how you act in a country that does allow you to speak your mind. And we're going to get into this too in other ways because it shows up in your relationships. Because if you were in a relationship where your feelings were never validated, where your opinions were never validated, and then you go to a relationship where your feelings are validated and you are treated well, you're going to still be going in with the perspective from the relationship where you were being treated bad, whatever's considered cool. So if you grew up in an environment where, let's just use wearing Jordans as in the shoe, dressing certain ways, talking certain ways, certain habits, whatever your culture or your environment or your family or your community called cool, if you don't fit the cool definition, if you don't fit into that cool box, you'll start to think that you're not good enough because by your culture and your society and your community definition, you don't fit the box that they told you you should be. Music. If you listen to a lot of music about how you can never achieve anything, life's so hard, everything's terrible, men are terrible, women are terrible, it starts to make you think, I can never find a good man. I can never find a good woman because the conditioning of the music you listen to, the entertainment you listen to, and what you're bringing in creates this limit on your mind. It creates this limit on your beliefs. It creates this limit of nobody's going to love you. Nobody cares. It limits your belief of what you can and cannot do, can and cannot achieve, and what your life can and cannot become. Now, here are some common examples. Self doubt. I could never reach that goal. I could never make it to the NBA. But there's tons of people who make it to the NBA. There's tons of people who make it to the NFL. There's tons of musicians. There's tons of artists. There's tons of anybody that has the goal you want to have. There's tons of millionaires. There's tons of business owners. There's tons of doctors and lawyers and engineers, but your belief is you can't. It's not everyone else can't. No, it's I. It's me. It's what you think of yourself. Your limiting beliefs are limiting you. They are beliefs you hold about you. They are beliefs you hold about your position in the world, what you can and cannot do. Financial, everything's too expensive. So you might not outright say that statement, but you might say something like, dang, the price of eggs went up by 50 cents. You're getting upset over 50 cents because you're living from a place mentally of scarcity. You're living from a place mentally where 50 cents is make it or break it. And when you were growing up, you may have lived a life where 50 cent was make it or break it. Like you were living literally paycheck to paycheck, like down to the last penny. And from that perspective, you think that a 50 cent increase in eggs or a 50 cent sugar tax on something is a major deal because you're living from a belief that money's so scarce. I can never make enough money. Money never comes to me. There's so little money, there's so little opportunities. So, because of the belief you hold about money, you will say everything's too expensive when in reality, it's not. Feelings of unworthiness. She won't like me. Because of the belief you have of yourself, you think other people won't like you even though you haven't even spoke to the person. And because of that belief you have of yourself, you start to say, think, and do certain things that confirms this bad belief of yourself. You will, how do I describe this to you? You will start to act in ways that lead people to not like you because you don't have a good relationship with yourself. And that's going to show up in your friendships, it's going to show up in your relationships with people who you are romantically interested in, it's going to show up in your family, it's going to show up in how you treat yourself, it's going to show up in everything. Now, what's the psychology behind this? Like, okay, we know what this is, we know where it comes from, but how does this impact our behavior? Your beliefs influence your interpretation of things. So, you have an experience, something happens in your life, the price of eggs goes up. It goes up by 50 cents. What you see is the price has gone up. That's it. But your belief that money's so scarce, money is so rare, I can never have enough money, your belief now has influenced your interpretation. Because the fact is the price of eggs went up. Your belief is I can never have enough money. So your belief causes you to panic and think that you're going to go bankrupt and that you're so poor and you never have enough money and life is so terrible and you can never make enough money to afford these eggs because your belief has now caused you to see the world through the mindset of poverty, through the mindset of lack, through the mindset of I can never have enough, when the facts of the matter is the price went up by 50 cents. You can replay that until you really get that point, or just carry on. Limiting beliefs impact everything. It impacts the cycles of your life. It impacts your confidence. It impacts your decision making. Because if you believe that this person will not like you, if you believe that opportunities are scarce, if you believe that you can never have enough, you will make decisions from that perspective. You will think from that perspective, and you will have a lower confidence because you believe that they believe that you're not good enough. But that's all going on inside your own head. Now, how does childhood and social conditioning play into this? We went over it briefly earlier, but let's refresh. So, your childhood experiences affect your core beliefs and perceptions about the world. An example, if you never saw a healthy family, if you never saw people love each other, if you never saw mom and dad hug, or you never saw friends playing outside, or people were mean to you, That can cause you to have trouble with your own relationship when you're older. It can cause you to have trouble with your friendships. It can cause you trouble in everything because that's what your childhood and your upbringing conditioned you to believe. Obviously, culture, music, society, that plays into it too. Because if the movie you see growing up, if the music you listen to, if what your environment is telling you causes you to think low of yourself, or it causes you to think high of yourself. A lot of people do have healthy families, they have healthy relationships, they have healthy connections with people, which then leads them to a healthy connection with themselves and ultimately a life of good beliefs. And the thing with beliefs, and especially limiting beliefs, is we don't often address them. We notice the symptom, but we don't treat the cause. We notice ourselves saying things like, I can never have enough money. Money's so scarce. Jobs never pay enough. This, that, the price of eggs. We see the symptom. We see the issue, but we don't pay attention to why do I think that? Where's this coming from? What's the cause of this? The issue, the symptom is I get upset at the price of things. But why? Oh, because the price is going up. This, the economy. Okay, but why do you think that you can't find a solution? Why do you think you can't make more money? Often, that comes from what things were like growing up. It comes from what you saw growing up. It comes from what mom and dad and aunt and uncle said about money, which now has led you to living your life from the perspective of you can never have enough. Now, here's that cycle and how it plays out. So, a self fulfilling prophecy, in simple terms, is when you believe something and you find evidence to confirm what you already believe. So, let's say you believe this person won't like you, this random stranger, you believe they won't like you. So, you look at them, they look at you, but neither of you say anything. Your self-fulfilling prophecy is, see, they think I'm unattractive because if I was attractive, they would have said something. But the reality is, you looked at them and didn't say anything. They looked at you and didn't say anything, and you both went about your day. They didn't make an ugly face at you. They didn't go, ew. No, they looked at you. You looked at them. They went that way. You went that way. So your belief over here. Let's get the pen out for this one. Yeah, let's get this pen emoji. So your belief, whatever you believe, I can or I can't make money. I will or I will not have that healthy relationship. People do or people don't like me. Leads to an action. You do or you do not talk to people. You do or you do not apply for that high paying job. You do or you do not start that business. That action now leads to a result that confirms or disproves the belief. If you believe nobody thinks you're attractive, but you go outside and somehow, some way, you do talk to someone, you say, hey, I like your dress. And they're like, wow, thank you. You're really handsome. You're really cute. You're really attractive. That belief led to the action, which then led to a result that disproves people do in fact think you're attractive. Or in a more straightforward way, you believe you're attractive. You believe you're a good partner. You believe that people will like you. So you talk to people. You go on dates. Well, that's moving forward too fast. You talk to people. You say, I like your dress. What's your name? My name's Orange. Your belief that you are attractive led you to speak to people, which then led to people telling you that you are attractive and them going on a date with you. Now, that result, which confirms or disproves the belief you have of yourself, feeds back into the belief. So, if you're on a downward spiral of, I believe I'm not good enough, you take actions from the perspective of not being good enough. You get results from the action of not being good enough. That then fuels into a bad result, which fuels into the negative belief, and you go on and on and on and on, down and down. But likewise, if you think something positive of yourself, you believe that you're good enough. You believe you can make money. You believe people think you're attractive. That leads to you talking to people. It leads to a action that causes a good result that then confirms the good belief and strengthens the good belief. So, when you get the belief loop on the right pattern, you will find evidence to confirm a good thing about yourself. Yeah, that person thinks I'm unattractive. That person doesn't like me. That person doesn't want to give me their number, but I bet you the next one will. And then you talk to the next one, and they do want to go on a date with you. So that confirms your belief about yourself. And your self fulfilling prophecy is the fact that you will find evidence for whatever you go looking for. If you believe that you can get into the NBA and you take the actions needed to get into the NBA and you do the work and you do the discipline, you do the hardship required to get into the NBA, even if you don't get into the NBA, you will ultimately still believe you can, but things happen. Oh, maybe you tore your Achilles tendon, you got injured, and you're like, yeah, I could have gotten to the NBA, but I got an injury. That's not you giving that old man sob story. No, this is what you believe. You believe you could have gotten to the NBA. You took the action needed, something happened, and even though your results didn't lead to getting to the NBA, you ended up on the D1 basketball team. Now, next, how did this impact your money? How does your limiting beliefs impact your money? Let's read this right here. Many believe wealth is scarce or only for others, which restrict their financial potential. So, if you believe that you can never have enough money, you grew up and your mom and dad was saying that money's so scarce, we can never have enough, everything too expensive, you will ultimately begin to believe that you can never have enough money, which then impacts your financial perspective on life. As you get older, you're not going to apply for that high paying job. As you get older, you're going to have bad issues with your finances, such as not being able to save enough, not starting that business, not trying enough. And then that will lead you back to where you believe you're supposed to be. Now, it also leads to issues such as overspending because you end up where you are comfortable. If you're comfortable with $5, if you're comfortable with $50, $100, whatever you're comfortable with, that is where your brain feels comfortable. That is where you feel like you should be. And somehow, some way, you're going to find a way to get back to there. You're going to find a way to get back to the level that you were taught to be. You're going to find a way to get back to where you were conditioned to be. And most of the time, this conditioning takes place unconsciously because when you're 5 years old, you're not aware of what you're being told. You're not aware of the belief that people are implanting in you, which ultimately leads you to going through life from the perspective you were taught to be rather than from your own authentic perspective because you haven't become aware and done the work to figure out what is that perspective for you. And under earning, obviously, you could have all the skills needed to get into Harvard. You could have all the skills needed to start a business. You could have all the skills needed to do door to door sales. You could have all the skills and all the talent and all the abilities needed to become a multimillionaire. But if you believe that you can never do it, you believe I can never start that business. Nobody's going to buy my stuff. people like me don't succeed, you're not going to do it because you didn't try, you didn't have the belief needed to start. Now, in a simple way, fear of investing. Fear of investing that money into your business. Fear of investing money into your health. Fear of investing money into the stock market. Fear of money, fear of investing your money into whatever it is that you need to do to ultimately raise your money, to ultimately raise your financial potential, to ultimately break out of that I never have enough money mindset and get into an abundance mindset, get into a mindset of growth, a mindset of expansion. And that can leave you staying in low paying jobs because you don't see your own worth. You don't see that the gift inside of you actually can make you a lot more money than working that 9 to 5. And I'm not talking down on 9 to 5. I'm just saying that if you stay stuck in a certain position that you know you don't belong in, that you know you are able to make more money in, but I can never do it. And this isn't me saying go quit your job. This is, them bills still got to get paid either way. This is me saying that if you believe that you can never have enough money, if you believe that nobody's going to buy your stuff, if you believe that you can't, you won't because you believe you can't. And because you believe you can't, like I said earlier, the belief I can't do it leads to actions of not doing it, which lead to results of not having it, which then confirms, see, I can't do it. But the belief was you can't do it, which led you to not starting. If you believed you could, you would start, and then from starting, you would get results that show, wait, I got 1 sale. I got 3 sales. I got 5 sales. That means I can. Next, how does this show up in your relationships? This one is going to be very clear to the point. So, unresolved limiting beliefs called recurring negative relationship patterns influencing your behavior unconsciously. You believe that you don't deserve a good relationship. If you believe that men are so terrible, women are so terrible, everyone's going to take your money, people don't actually love you for you, you're going to subconsciously pick people who are bad for you. Subconsciously, because your brain believes that men are so terrible, women are gold diggers. Because your brain believes this, it leads you to picking those types of people. 100% of people are not bad. But if a large percentage of the people that you have dated are bad for you, and this is recurring, like at 15 you had a bad relationship, at 17 you had a bad relationship, at 19 you had a bad relationship, at 8, at 22, at 23, 24, bad relationship, bad relationship, bad relationship, bad relationship. There's got to be some belief in here that's causing you to pick these people. Oh, I'm not good enough for that relationship because you grew up in a situation where maybe you had a emotionally distant parent that taught you that love is scarce. It taught you that love is temporary, that you have to bend over backwards to get approval. So that led you to picking people who you have to do that for. And when you break that belief, when you break that pattern, when you go, wait, I do deserve somebody who's good for me. I do matter. My emotions are valid. I do deserve to feel like I matter in a relationship. It leads you to picking better people. Change the bad belief you have about your relationships. Change what you believe about love, and you will change the sorts of people that you entertain. So, how do we do this? Like, okay, how do we overcome these limiting beliefs? How do we actually make some change? Awareness. You got to become aware of it. You have to notice, okay, the symptom is your relationships. The symptom is your money. The symptom is how you treat yourself. The symptom is the opportunities you do and do not take. That's a symptom. The cause is what goes on under that. That's the belief. I believe I can. I believe I can't insert something here. I believe I can make $1 million. I believe I can't make more money. I believe I can have a healthy relationship. I believe I can't have a healthy relationship. Whatever you believe is the core. Everything else is the symptom of that. Journaling, I say this all the time. Journaling will help you to become aware of what the cause really is. The symptom, man, I always get mad when somebody says a certain thing. I always get mad when something happens. My relationships never last long. I always pick bad people. I always end up in negative situations and undesirable situations. Why is that? And you journal about it and you start to realize, oh, it's because of what I saw growing up. It's because of how I was treated growing up. It's because of what I did or didn't have growing up. That's often where it comes from. Then you challenge it. You ask yourself, is that true though? Is it true that healthy love is distant? No, that's not true. Is it true that because of the color of my skin, I cannot do this thing, assuming you live in a country where blatant, legal, like written in law racism does not exist? That's not true. Because of where I come from, where I look, what I was told growing up, I can or I can't. That's not true. I can do whatever I decide. I will become what I decide to become because that's what I believe about myself. And whatever you believe about yourself, whatever you believe you can or cannot do, will cause your life to become that thing. Now, here's some tools and strategies you can use for that. Cognitive restructuring. In simple terms, is simply noticing the thought and change it. You notice a bad thought comes up. You notice a thought such as, man, that's too expensive. She's not going to like me. They're not going to like me. I can't get that job. You notice that thought, you change it. You snap yourself out of it. You're like, I'm going to talk to her anyways. I'm going to apply that job anyways. I'm going to do the thing anyways. Even though right now I have a thought that says, I can't. They're not going to like me. Try anyways. Because at least you tried. And eventually you'll start to realize that, hey, at least I can try. At least I'm capable of taking action. At least I'm able to override my fear. I'm able to make my decision making, my belief stronger than my fear. Because you're always going to have things pop up regardless. But it's about being able to go from that fear limiting you, that fear stopping you, and actually overcome that, take some action, and do what it is that you want rather than listening to the fears. Affirmations, cheesy as it might sound, this stuff does work. Saying positive things like, I am wealthy, I am strong, I am capable, I believe in myself, I am worthy, I am lovable. Saying that to yourself, it does help. Trust me. Mindfulness, you could also think of this as journaling, self awareness, noticing your thoughts, yoga, meditation. There's a lot of ways you can do it. It's all about noticing what goes on mentally and paying attention to it. Noticing a thought. Do I agree with that? Let's get that bad thought out of here. Let's change it for a positive one. Professional support. Some people, you might need a therapist. Therapy, nothing's wrong with it. I've done it. For some people, it's really helpful. For other people, not so much. However, if you are someone who feels like you're in danger or you feel like you're going to hurt yourself or hurt somebody else, get a therapist, call a crisis line, talk to somebody who is professionally qualified. Even though I talk a lot about self love and building a positive outlook on life, I am not a clinical therapist. I am not certified to do that. I have just spent the last 4 years helping people with self love, confidence, improving their outlook on life. I'm not a crisis counselor. That's not what I do. I am a youth empowerment speaker. I help people to build up their mindset. I help people to realize what they're capable of. I'm not a therapist. So what happens? Like, okay, all right, Lawrence, for the last 35 minutes, you've been talking to me about this. What's the result? What's going to happen for me? What's the transformation? You will start to believe you can. You'll be able to take better action. You'll have a life that you're proud of. You'll wake up in the morning and not worry about what's in that bank account. You'll have a healthy relationship. Your life will become something you could have never even dreamt of. Because right now, you might be working McDonald's. Right now, you're in a bad relationship. Right now, you don't think it's possible. You don't think you can overcome. Ooh, you don't think you can overcome that issue, but you can. When you change your mindset, you'll start to realize, wait, I can be the first millionaire in my family. I do deserve a healthy relationship. I do deserve that wife and three kids or that husband or whatever it is that you want. I can. I deserve to be proud of myself. I deserve to have that dream body I want. I deserve it. I believe I can. And because you believe you can, you take actions. And because of those actions, you get the results and you get the life you want. It's that simple. When we change what we believe, we change what we do, we change what we say, we will have the life that we desire. Just picture it now. You come home, your wife and three kids, the dog, house paid off, the car in the driveway, dream body, bank account is on steroids, your bank account is overflowing. Y'all don't have to worry about money. Health is fantastic. Generational wealth. That's what happens when you change your beliefs. So, with that said, here's how it goes. Your limiting beliefs affect your life areas such as your finances, your money, and ultimately stopping you from being able to grow. You recognize these, you transform them, and you get the life you want. You get everything and more than you could have ever dreamt of. Now, with that said, I hope you enjoyed this presentation. And again, if you would like to attend in person and you're in Philadelphia, the link for that event is below. We're going to be talking about this, but on an even deeper level with in person question and answers. There's only 8 spots. I cannot rent out an entire auditorium for this just yet, but you're going to have access to me one on one, question and answers, and I think you're going to love it. I know you're going to love it. Hit that link in the top. Hit that top link in the description. Have a good day.